TikTok. Finally, we tried to go live just a little while ago, and we're looking at the keyboard. Surprisingly, we had 76 people that actually tuned in. So thank you,
To
guys.
watch a
We're trying to
keyboard.
work out some of the tweaks over here. Go ahead, Brock. Take us in,
All
man.
right. So, welcome to tonight's episode or podcast of Business, Funding, and Whiskey. So, we've got an awesome lineup for you guys today. We're going to be going into everything about financial freedom, about business, business development, you name it. Again, for those of you who have not tuned into us before, this is an unorthodox approach to some of the biggest questions out there, right? So a lot of the things that we go over on a day-to-day basis are things that aren't right. So there's a reason that we're going to come to you. There's a reason that we call it Business Funding and Whiskey. Salute.
Salud.
And we just want to have some fun, and we want to bring you some value and some education. So for those of you who haven't tuned in, my name's Brock. We've got Carlos, the credit assassin, and our guest tonight, we've got Brandon Gaydorus. All right. So, Brandon, why don't we start off here and kind of introduce yourself? So who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. And I think
Awesome, man.
what
Welcome.
Yeah, I think the vibe that you have for this podcast is just really fun. So I'm excited for today.
Awesome, man.
My name is Brandon Gaydorus. I'm in Stamford, Connecticut, and I'm a goal execution coach. So my goal is to help 21 people get to $21,000 a month, and they don't pay till they get there. And then my 10-year goal is to transition all that credibility into a university. And my 10-year goal is to have 10,000 student universities across the best cities in the United States.
Wow. Wow. So that's a big claim. So let me ask you something. I mean, I love what you have to say. You want to definitely bring some value. You want to help people. How are you doing this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I do is I meet with people once a week for 20 minutes, and I revolve a lot of my teachings around the book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution. So I had always wanted to take action on goals. I had always wanted to make things happen. And then I had mentors that had helped me do that. But the 4 Disciplines of Execution really helped me understand how I could help other people execute on goals. So I started implementing that on a one-on-one basis, based on many things that I've learned from previous mentors like Brandon Dawson and Grant Cardone on goal setting.
Awesome.
And then I've applied those 4 principles to help people once a week for 20 minutes on a phone call, so I can work with people from all over the world, focus on what it is that they want to go after, because how are you ever going to get what you want if you don't know what it is you want?
That is true. Yeah.
You
No goals. If you have no goals, you don't know where you're going.
Exactly. So that is the main thing that I help people do, is stay focused on what it is that they want. It takes about 2 to 4 weeks to come up with the clearest 10, 3, and 1 year goals, personal, professional, and financial, that you've ever had in your life. And I tell people that up front. I'm like, if you give me 2 to 4 weeks, I'll give you the clearest goals that you've ever seen in your life. So once we do that, then we come up with an attack plan. So we have a wildly important goal, 1 to 2 at most, that we go after. And then we break that down into what needs to be done daily or weekly. And we test those 1 to 3 lead measures out over a period of time to see if they're moving you closer to that goal. And then each week we have commitments to help move those lead measures closer and closer, to make sure we're refining everything necessary to make sure we can make this work and we're playing the game the right way.
Love it. I want to talk about, you've got, as Grant Cardone would put it, you have an irresistible offer, and as Alex Hermosi would put it, a grand slam offer that is just out of this world. So can you talk a little bit about what your offer is for our viewers out there?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great question. So when I really started looking at this goal, the big picture, because my whole goal is to have $1 billion university program. So my goal is to have the biggest education system in the world, like bigger than Harvard, bigger than Yale. And in order to do that, I knew I needed to get reps And I knew I needed to get a lot of plus ones in my life, a lot of people who supported this goal, a lot of people who went after their goals. So I actually started looking at the lens of that. And then when I broke it all down, I was like, okay, I need to get reps. I need to get reps. I know that people who make under 21K a month, it's tough to hire a business coach and it's hard to get to that 21K number. So I came up with that number because Brandon Dawson, I kept hearing him talk about it at the Cardone conferences. Hey, if you make $1 million or more, if you make $1 million or more, and then they had their big program. Yeah. And then I kept hearing him talk about the importance of 250,000 a minimum revenue per head. And so I started to realize there's a big opportunity there. And I know they're not doing that for a reason, because when you don't have something that's working, it typically takes a lot longer than when you have something that's bringing in revenue and then scaling it. So I understood that. And because I had another business that was cash flowing, I knew I could structure this business around that one so that I could invest in people. So I wanted to invest in people. And I knew if I invested in people, I would figure out the problems people are facing and I'd figure out how to help them solve them. And then most importantly, I'd figure out how to help them get connected with the right people so that they can make the money that they want to make. And then, we also work on the personal side of goal setting too, goal execution, because who wants to be wealthy if you're not in the shape that you want to be? Who wants to be wealthy if you're not in the relationships that you want to be in? So we work on all aspects of that. A lot of people call me a life coach, but I'm not a life coach. I'm not a certified life coach. I'm a goal execution coach. I help people execute on goals. Yeah. I used to call myself a business coach, but I'm not a business coach. I've never taken someone to 10 million. I've never taken someone to 100 million. But I tell you what, I had someone who's worth, I don't know what he's worth, probably 100 million. He told me, he said, Brandon, because of what you told me, we now have a plan to get our business from 100 million to 300 million.
So, I mean, that's an amazing testimony, man. That's an amazing testimony. But you know what? Yeah. I love what you're doing, man. You're helping people. You're not only, like you said, you're investing in others. You're bringing value. But I know this was not your end goal your whole life. How did you come about becoming the person that you are today and helping many, helping multitudes, and bringing this audacious goal that you have to help millions of people having $1 billion system? You want to actually surpass all these other universities. But how did you come about who you are today, and why did that happen?
Yeah, that's probably the best question you could ask. And that's something that I'm always curious about with people who are really successful. So I was fortunate enough to have a lot of success with the first thing that I pursued. So when I was 17 years old, I started pursuing the world of golf and fitness. So helping people with their bodies to be able to hit the golf ball further, feel better on the course. And I realized there was a huge niche and a huge market for it. And it really interests me because I was a golfer and I felt so much better when I started implementing the stuff my mentor was teaching me. So from 17 to 26, I would learn, study, observe the best in the world. And then in college, I would coach the students for free. And at 2021, I was interning for a guy who just won the World Series with the Boston Red Sox.
Wow.
And he had worked with the Boston Bruins for all throughout the 90s, pretty much. And then at 22, I was like, I want to work for the best of the best in the golf fitness business. At 22, I was working down in West Palm, Florida for probably one of the top 3 people in that field. And wow. I was getting exposure to some of the top golfers in the world on a daily basis. And I mean, Brooks Koepka, I got to see him train for 7 months, one of the best in the world. I think he was number 1 at one point. And then the number 1 female in the world was training there too. So at 22 years old, I got to see the best of the best.
Wow.
And then at 26, I got voted top 50 in America. And it was actually on New Year's Eve. It was on New Year's Eve. And I remember being out on New Year's Eve that night. And it was the loneliest day of my life, even though I was around hundreds of people. Because they call it the 10-year rule or the 10,000 hour rule to be the best,
An
right?
an expert.
Mastering your craft. Yeah.
An expert, mastering your craft. And I truly believed that I was one of the best in the world, and that recognition helped solidify that. But I wasn't fulfilled at all. I was not fulfilled at all. And I said, the next time I make it to the top of the mountain, whatever that mountain is, I am going to climb that mountain with a massive group of people. And when we get to the top of the mountain, we're going to celebrate together. We're going to cheers together. We're going to talk about the good times. And then we're probably going to see a mountain that we couldn't see before, and we're going to start climbing that together. And so that has been the biggest motivation, because when you have success and you understand the process of it, it's a lot easier to put in the step. Like I'm probably on 40 calls a week for this goal.
Yeah.
And then I'm still doing probably about 25 to 30 hours of personal training a week. So there's days where I have like 7 personal training sessions and like 13 calls. Wow. But what pushes me to keep going is I understand the fundamentals of what I'm putting in place right now, what it will lead to down the road. Just now I'm at an advantage because I know that the process is going to be a lot more fun than the end result. So I developed Warm Heart Life based on the process and the people that you grow with along the way. That's why I'm always hashtagging growing together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's like Brandon doesn't says is the leadership. Leadership is actually making others' success easy. And that's what you're doing. So that's very, very commendable, man. You're actually doing something great. And, you know, a lot of people don't think that way. How old are you, by the way?
I am 29 now.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Salute.
You know what? Salute to you. By the way, I saw that cup. What is it says? What does the cup says?
So yeah, this is pretty cool. So this is this. I don't know if you can see it here, but we got an ace, and it's an ace of hearts, and then we got a jack of clubs, and that makes 21.
Clubs.
Yeah, 21. So that makes 21, right? So, and then the heart represents Warm Heart Life. So Warm Heart Life 21 Club. So when people get to 21K, we cheers, we have a drink or maybe 10 drinks in the glass, and we celebrate the good times.
Love it.
You know what?
Love
Salute
it.
to that. That's amazing, man. That's commendable right there.
Yeah. Are you a big blackjack guy?
I used to be into gambling quite a bit when I was younger. Like, cause there was a casino where you could be 18. So I used to go up there a lot when I was 18, 19, 20, all the way up until 22. And I was just like, man, this just isn't worth my time. So now whatever.
Dangerous, man. It is dangerous. I love blackjacking.
Yeah. I mean, I learned the same thing. So back in 2003, 2002, 2005, I lived in California. So I used to go to Vegas like once, twice a month. And I loved it. I learned how to play blackjack, how to play poker, but it was dangerous. And that's the thing. Yeah. Like I saw a lot of my friends, I love money too much. I was the type of person that would go sit down on that table, make $70, and I was out with my money. I said, I'm not going to lose my $70. But Brandon, man, I mean, this is amazing. You know what? And I think you are the right person for everyone to hear this today. I mean, you're being a trainer, you're being a coach, what you're doing today, like I said, is commendable. You're actually helping many people to get to where they want to go. Why is it important for us, for anyone, to invest into a coach, a mentor for your life goals, for anything that you want to do? I think you are the right person to actually answer that question. And I want people to hear from you to see if once and for all, the ones that are doubting it, at least listen, because again, let's let the master talk.
Yeah, well, that's a great, really, really good question. So you're at where you are now. This is point A, and then this is point B, wherever you want to be. Even if you don't know what point B is, it's something that you want to be there in the future.
Yeah.
The quickest way to get to point B is to study from the person who's already there, who's already been through the trials and errors, who's already developed the network. and who's already been through the trenches, and they can help you save time, energy, and effort on the things that you need to know to accelerate forward. So why would you not hire a coach if they can help you get to point B faster, whether it's make more money, whether it's better relationships, whether it's better sleep, better health, better business credit? Why would you not go to the person who is studying that all the time, who is in the day-to-day game all the time? It's like if you're a player on a football team,
Yeah.
are you going to listen to the fans who are shouting out what you should be doing? Or are you going to listen to the coach who's in the practice on a daily basis, who's studying the films, who's talking to the other coaches, who's been through 20 years worth of experiences of play calls changing, things happening in games that you don't expect? Why would you not listen to the coach who's in the game all the time, paying attention to it, versus that, and the person in the stands is relatable to like maybe a family member or a friend who's like trying to tell you business advice, but they don't have a business. So why would you not hire a coach if they can help you get to where you want at a faster rate?
Yeah. Well said, right? You are the sum of the people you surround yourself with. So that's extremely important.
And you know what? And adding to that too, I think the best investment that anyone can do is in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that Grant says all the time. Grant Cardone, for those that you don't know, Grant Cardone is a big real estate mogul. Not only that, he sells and real estate and business and so on. But he says that if you only have $1,000, $10,000, whatever sum amount you have, the first investment that you should start with is yourself. Invest in yourself, because no matter what where you at, any skill that you gain, it will make you worthwhile. You'll become more of what you are today. When you become more, you actually get paid more in the future, and so on. So, I mean, that's an amazing concept that a while ago I started investing in so many other things, but not knowing what I was investing on. I lost a lot of. I mean, I was talking to Brock last week. We're talking about that I have invested into and on gas stations, and man, I lost my shirt with those gas stations. Lesson learned, though. Lesson learned. Brock
I think we've all made those poor investments, and it's a learning process, right? And it takes somebody to tell you, like, hey, you're doing the wrong thing. Invest in this, or for you to go, oh, right, I should be investing in myself, or I should be doing X, Y, and Z. Taking lessons from somebody who's already there, and not listening to my sister or something like that on financial advice, right? But it's and
you know what? And adding to that too, something else that came to that came to mind that Brandon doesn't says, just like Brandon said over here, was that, hey, whenever you hear any type of advice, take it in consideration. But first, ask yourself: has this person been there? Have they done it? And were they successful? If they were not successful, they probably did it. They did the wrong thing. They're probably teaching you the wrong thing. And those are some of the questions. And don't get me wrong. I mean, you may be able to learn from that. You may be able to learn what not to do. But continuing that, like today, so you teach people how to make at least $21,000 a month minimum to start, to be able to afford Brandon, to be able to actually, for you to take him and continue, because I know you don't stop there. You're still helping your community. What are the best investments? What would you say someone that's trying to do today, besides investing in themselves and looking for Brandon? What can they do today in order for them to start investing whatever money they have available?
That's a great question. So it depends on where you're at, and I'm going to touch on this because you were talking about this. So one of the best, this is probably the best investment advice that I've ever heard in my life, and it came from a billionaire. So he said, and the guy's name is Grant Cardone. You just mentioned him. And he said, Grant is a big guy on saying, hey, you have money, throw it into something, throw it into something, throw it into something. But when you really study Grant for years and years, like I have, probably like 6 years, I think I've studied him, 7 years, you realize that the first investment he says to make is actually to figure out how to make and retain money. And he says the first investment you should make is figure out how you can make and retain $100,000. And because then you prove to yourself you will never have an issue making and retaining money again. And then he says, invest all of that money into your business, and if you're not in a business, just invest it all back into something. And then he says, once that business, or once you're cash flowing, or whatever your revenue source is, where you have so much passive income, or you have so much income coming in that you have to figure out what to do with it, then you put that into assets that pay you passive income and give you tax benefits. So yeah, so that was the best investment advice I've ever heard. And when, because there's so many people that I talk to that literally don't have more than $10,000 in their bank account. People with kids, people who are well out of college, and it's one of those things you have to prove to yourself that you can make and retain money. And what you realize is, hey, that $6,000 a month that I thought was good out of college really isn't that much money. I think I need to be making more like 12,000 or like 15,000. And the funny thing is, I don't know if these people that I mentor tell their parents this, but I've had a lot of people like that 20 to 25 range that have been learning from me for a little while now say that they thought $60,000 was the Mecca out of college. And then once they started hanging around me more, they're like, wow, I just wasn't thinking big enough.
Right. You know what? And that's that. And again, like Brock said, Brock, salute to you too.
Hey, salute.
Salute, Brandon. No, so, and like Brock says, you are the sum of the people that you hang around with. And I got to agree with you, because as soon as we started changing who we work with, who we actually surround ourselves with, our company, our business, things started changing. Like today, the way that we invest in money, and again, we put it back into the company, sometimes it goes into the tens of thousands of dollars. And to us, is we just see, what are we getting back from that, not how much I'm spending. The main thing is anything that had to do in order to help us out. I mean, that's no question. That's like air, food, and actually how we develop ourselves. And those are the things that people, you got to start switching your thinking, your mentality, and you see how things start changing around you. It's just the way that we actually attract, like law of attraction, like Dr. John Maxwell said, is you attract who you are. And if you think you develop yourself, that's the same people that you're going to bring to me. Like, honestly, man, you know what? I'm not going to say I'm very lucky, but I'm very thankful to the universe to actually bring Brock into our company, because Brock is a force multiplier for Credit Assassins. But you know what? That wouldn't have happened if I would not have done my part and continue to do my part, because we continue growing. And if I don't do that, if that's something you got to think, once you're a leader in anything that you do, business, even family, if you're not a father or mother, people will drift away, and that's how divorces happen. Trust me, man. I'm divorced, so I know what I'm talking about when it comes to that, because I live that. And the funny enough is, like, anything that I talk over here, especially when it comes to business, all those little f-ups, I did them. So I talk to you by experience. So I found out the way that you shouldn't do things, and this is how we come about. Especially start talking about business credit. This is the way. Like, trust me. You know what? I fuck up many times. You know what?
I think that's kind of the thing that happens,
So, and again, a lot of people don't learn from their mistakes. And you say like a smart man learn from his mistakes, but a genius learn from other people's mistakes. I urge everyone to become a genius. Learn from my mistake. Learn from our mistakes, because we've been there, we've done that, we wore the shirt, and we want to make sure that we teach you the right way. We want to make sure that we teach you what not to do, and that's what Brandon was saying. Make sure that you actually learn from someone that is being there, that is successful now, but they also made their mistakes and teach you what not to do. That shortens up, and I like the analogy. It's not a straight line. He put the A and the B over here. I like that. I'm going to do that one. The A and the B over here. So from point A to point B. And that's what we're trying to urge you to do. Now, another point that you actually did out of college, a lot of kids that I get out of college, they said that the Mecca is about $60,000 salary. You know what? Another thing that they don't teach us there, I mean, obviously they don't teach us nothing about wealth, but about credit. How many people come out of college in debt? How many people go into everything like ventures without knowing? Like, honestly, I sat down with someone that is very dear to me this morning, helping them. The guy has a good credit, but has a mentality about credit cards and credit that is the same thing that we all have been taught. Like, especially I come from a Spanish or Hispanic culture that they tell you like, no, everything is cash. Put your money under the mattress. Credit is taboo. You don't get credit. But you know what? There cannot be any wronger or any wronger. Wronger is a world. But you need to get credit. You need to actually acquire credit, acquire debt in order for you to move forward. Because that's something that also Grant, and it's funny that we're all three of us over here, we follow
Our
the
big
same.
Grant Cardone, yeah.
Grant Cardone, Brandon Dawson. One of the main things that he says, what? Debt, right? I don't want to have cash.
Yeah.
I don't want to have cash. He never has $100. Every time that he shows the little trick with $100, he never has cash. He always has somebody who has $100 and he takes it, right? So that's the funny part. But again, guys, we want to make sure that you listen to especially what Brandon have to say, because he has a great message. He wants to help you guys out. And guys, I mean, TikTok is blowing up. So Brandon, you're going to have a lot of people reaching out to you. Okay.
So Brandon, I got a question for you, man. So as a goal execution coach, and you've helped hundreds of clients achieve whatever their goals are, right? Your Grand Slam irresistible offer of $21,000 a month, right, in revenue. What's one thing that you've learned along the way that you feel like everybody should know?
Yeah, so to get to $21,000 a month, that you times that by 12, it's about $250,000 per year. And everyone should know that most people don't make that money for a reason. And the reason is that to be able to make that amount of money, you have to do things that you weren't doing before to be able to get there. So one thing that everyone should know is that if you want to make more money, you're going to have to start focusing on the habits today to move you closer to the habits that you'll have down the road when you're at that number. So that is the biggest thing. Like I can tell everybody, I can help you get to 21K, but I can't get you to 21K if you're not putting in the work. If you're just expecting me to do the work, good luck. I have too many people that I'm working with to be able to do the work that you need to do. Man. What I can help you do is save time, energy, and effort and stay focused on what you need to do to be the most effective and efficient person in the business world, or if you're inside a company, inside that company. So one thing that everyone should know is that you're going to have to change the habits that you're in right now. Maybe keep some of the good ones, but you're going to have to get some of the bad ones out. And news to you, the bad ones are always coming in. So you have to have a system that helps get those back out when they do come back in.
Wow. Well said. Well said. I'm going to drink to one of my bad habits right now.
Here's the thing, because I don't get to talk about this too much. There's this common theme around when you're drinking alcohol, it's not good for you. And I have never gotten that, because obviously I understand the health side, but I have made some of my best business connections. I have improved my people skills, my communication skills tremendously, and I've improved my network of people tremendously through going out to the bars. I always tell people, I say, where the people are, the opportunities lie. So if it's a Friday and Saturday night, and I have everything done on my 5 critical tasks, which is the system I use to get in better habits. If I have everything done on that list, I can do 2 things. I can sit and watch Netflix, or I can go to where the people are and I can make connections. Social media is one thing. Like, I do it, I utilize it. I do think you need it, but there are very few people that promote harder than me on a daily basis about the things that I'm going after. I have an event that I'm having in 6 months. I'm not even really selling tickets for it yet, but I'm promoting the crap out of it right now. And last weekend, I talked to the guy who's ahead of the best social media page in Stanford. I had like a 10, 15 minute conversation. Wasn't expecting to run into him, but I know where the people are, the opportunities arise. And then I've been trying to get connected with this company Indeed since an event I had 3 years ago. And I met a girl who said, hey, I want to help you get connected with the right person at Indeed so that we can help sponsor your event. I can't guarantee anything, but I want to help you. 3 years I've been working on that. And I was out at the bar, the local bar, and I had those 2 conversations that were game changers. Absolutely. I know they will be. No matter what they lead to, the confidence that those 2 conversations gave me are absolute game changers.
That's awesome.
So I think there's often a negative perception about that, but it's like, I don't know, I think so. And here's my second point to that. Yeah. Susan Pinker has a TED Talk, and she talks about the number 1 key to longevity is social integration, and then a close second is close relationships. So all the things that people talk about on like the news, all these things like to get attention, to get views, are that health and wellness stuff, like smoking, drinking, air quality, like all this stuff, like what type of diet you're on. Mm-hmm. She said, like, when you see the graph in this TED Talk, nothing is even close than social integration and close relationships.
Wow.
And this is something I've studied in my mind and through the people I've connected with for pretty much my entire life. And I've noticed that is 100% true. That most people that live a life long lived have those 2 things in common. Obviously, you have to understand that the other things are important, but I don't think there is anything more important than social integration and close relationships.
Interesting. I love it. I love it. So I got another question for you, Brandon. You talked about, you helped or you spoke to one of your clients who owned a $100 million company, and through what you advised them on, now they're looking at a $300 million company. That's an awesome success story. But what other than that, what is your best success story? I want to hear it.
Yeah, and I will say that was just someone I talk to all the time, and I recommended the book. So I will say it's not like that's a client of mine or someone, but I am very close with that person. So my biggest success story is I worked with these guys when they were in college, and I think they were making like $2,000 to $5,000 a month. They were 3 college roommates. Wow. And then last month, I think they did now they have 3 businesses. That was about a year and a half ago. Last month they did about 320,000.
Wow.
You know what? That's amazing. That's awesome.
And they do work with a lot of other coaches. I will say that, because you have to be able to do that. But I will say I've been on a call pretty much every week, for the last year and a half, and to be able to see that grow is just one of the coolest things that I've seen in my life. 22. I think they're all 22, proud, right? 23 years old. Oh yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Good
so
stuff.
So I see that you actually help others accomplish their goals, their visions, missions in life. What is yours? Like what you really want to do for you? I see that your goal, what you want to do for others. Like what's yours?
Yeah. So personal, professional, financial. Or you want me to just go through
PPF? There we go.
No,
that sounds very familiar. A PPF.
Yeah. So I'll start with personal. So my 10-year personal is to marry the love of my life, and then to break that down, I did my 3-year is to actually understand what I want. So I did that when I was younger. I would write down like what I want, yeah. And then I'll find a girl, and then I'd date her for a while, and then I realized, man, I just haven't seen enough. Because then I meet someone from Australia, or I meet another person that I would have never thought I would met, and I'm like, wow, I would have never thought that person was out there. So when I started traveling to a lot of these personal development and business events, I started realizing there's a lot of things that I have not seen. Like I was at I was at Grant Cardone's event. This is right before the pandemic. And I had just wrote this book that the subtitle was Creating a Life That Makes a Difference to the World Under 30. And the second story in there was one of the best compliments you can give is to just go up to someone and say hi. And I can't not follow through on what I had on the book. So I'm walking around at lunchtime in Las Vegas, and
I was there. I probably saw you.
You were there. So you could picture this. So it's just lunch break, just walking around, and I see Tommy Lahren and her dad. And for those of you who don't know who she is, whether you love her or hate her, she has taken an accelerated approach to become one of the most viewed people on Fox. And she's my age. So like I studied her story when I was actually writing that book, one of many that I studied. And I turned to my brother, I'm like, I think I know who that is. And she was just sitting on a bench waiting to get lunch with her dad. Like they weren't even in the restaurant. So I was like, oh, all right, well, I got to go up and say hi. And I went up and said, hey, I just want to thank you for inspiring people in our age to go after things. And she just stands up. She's like, hey, I'm Tommy. What's your name? And we had like 5 to 10 minute conversation. And this is someone you're like, oh, it'd be cool to meet that person. It'd be cool to talk to that person. Yeah. But all of a sudden, I'm talking to her. And then I find myself meeting a lot of people who are very similar to her after that. And I was like, man, like I really need to see what else is out there.
Yeah.
Like just the conversation that I had with her, I could just see the look in her eyes that like I had felt what she had gone through to get to where she is. And I feel like she could tell what I had gone through to get to where I am. Like what the process I took in my first career, it's not like I was on a national media thing. But man, I could relate to so many of the things that she talked about in her book that I would have to do constantly to go out of my comfort zone, to be able to learn from the best of the best, to be able to do things that I was not comfortable with, but I know it would make me a better person that day, the next day, and the day after that. So that's why I'm like 3 years, I just want to know what it is that I want. And then 1 year I wrote down 9 people and I was like, I want to interview 7 of these 9 people. And these are like big names. And George Clooney, Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively, Mike Stud. He doesn't go by Mike Stud anymore. Bethany Frankel, Ed Milet, Julianne Hough, Ray Dalio. So people of that caliber. And Brandon Cohen was the 9th one, the founder of Liquid IV. So I was like, man, I want to interview these people. But the point of it wasn't to interview these people. It was to take action to be able to study these people and believe that I can meet these people and understand their stories because they had a lot of the things that I wanted. And even though I'm probably not going to interview 7 of them this year, I could go probably tell 2 hours of stories of the people that I've met because of that goal. And I actually got to meet Ed Milet, and he actually answered my question on live television.
That's awesome.
That was yeah.
That's amazing. Congrats, man. Congrats. That's awesome.
Killer stuff.
Yeah. So
you have the secret sauce. It seems like you have the secret sauce at such a young age. I mean, I applaud you for that because a lot of people at your age, at 29, I wasn't no close to where you are now or what I am right now. So you know what? That's you inspiring a lot of people. But I'm sure that now, do you encounter a lot of issues working with older people?
Sometimes. So yeah, I'll work with anybody.
That's hilarious.
No, you know what? Because I'm gonna tell you a story about that, and I wanted to know. Go ahead.
That's actually a really good question. So I'll work with anybody. People say, who's your target customer? I say my target customer is anyone who wants to make some things happen and will commit to what they say they're going to do. That is who I want to work with. I will say my best successes have been with people from 20 to 25. And that's typically because when you're that age, you really are, I feel the most open to listening to someone who can help you. So I don't know what it is as people get older. Most people as they get older, they've they've had a past life that has developed them into the person that they are there. Versus a 20, 21, 22, they're still trying to figure out so many things.
Right.
So one thing that I've noticed is, people that I work with in the 40s, 50s, 60s, who I really enjoy, it's a lot harder to get them out of the habits that have gotten them to where they are. And it doesn't mean it's not possible. And I still try just as hard. But I will say my best successes typically are the people in that 20 to 25, because they seem to be the most open to learning and applying what you're saying.
Got it.
Interesting stuff.
And when I was segueing with that question, Brock laughs. No, but what I was talking about is like, okay, so I don't know if you know my background. I was in the military for 22 years. I was one of the young leaders in my whole platoon and every unit that I went to. So I was able to actually hit the pinnacle of becoming a military man. And I led a lot of people that were older than me, and that was one of the biggest issues. So that's why I wanted to know, because now going back into what we call the civilian world is a little different. And still to this day, now I hear that and I see that. But I wanted to know how, because in my eyes, and again, it may be completely different, but I see you have great qualities. And I'm, even though that I'm older than you, I'm very open to what you have to say. So do you see that as people mature and actually now recognize what's really out there and what they really need in life? And I think in order to do that, you got to be coachable too, like you said. Some people you cannot get them out of the habits, but you got to open your mindset. And something that I always when I used to hire a lot of my soldiers was, I don't care who I'm learning from. It could be from the private or it could be from the colonel, but somebody always has something new to bring to the table, a new idea that could make our mission, our vision so much better. So, and that's what I was alluding with that question. He laughs about it. It's like, what kind of question is that? No, but you know
I
what?
actually,
Because
I like that question.
I'm sure you've
Yeah.
seen that. You probably seen the friction. And I wanted to figure out, I mean, especially as a personal development, a lot of people don't, a little touchy feely about that, and I seen it. So that was why I was alluding with that question.
I think about that all the time, by the way.
Yeah.
That I think about that all the time, because to be able to hit this goal, I have to constantly refine how this is working out.
Yeah.
And that is something that I think about all the time.
So, Brendan, I want to kind of hop back into finances, right? And I want to get your take on, what does financial security mean to you, not only you, right, personally, but also your business?
That's a great question. I think to me, financial security is really, really important. If one, you don't know how to make money or raise money, and two, I think it's important, because if you have it, you're going to be able to do a lot of the things that you want to do in life. If you talk to a lot of people that they look back, like I worked at a nursing assisted living home when I was in high school, which really helped give me perspective on life. If you talk to a lot of people who've lived their life and are kind of on the tail end, they'll say, oh, yeah, I never went there. I wish I wrote a book. I never went there. Oh, it would have been nice to do that. Oh, that person got lucky to make that happen. Well, the funny thing is, a lot of those things happen because money was tight and they didn't have that financial security. True. So, I mean, I think money is really important. I was thinking about this today.
Yeah.
Money is, okay, well, I'll relate it back to the relationships. And if this is getting off topic, you can.
No, go for it.
No, you're good.
But
because I was going to take it there next, but go ahead.
Yeah. So, I'm single, and I just kind of started talking to a girl that we just kind of ended it. And I've started to realize that it's really nothing against any of the girls. And I just started to realize that I love the idea of getting better so much that I have to be with someone who is constantly working on getting better. I don't care what it is, but like they have to be constantly working on getting better. And business to me is one of the coolest games that you could possibly play. Like Monopoly when you're younger, like you try and get as much money as you can. Well, why not in business try and make as much money as you can, have as much impact as you can, and get connected with some incredible people along the way?
Yeah.
So I am a big fan of having financial security and making money, if that answers your question.
No, perfect.
Now, helping people to get to the financial status that they want, because a lot of people really don't need, and like you said, money is not everything. But people talk about money is the root of all evil. No, not having money is the root of all evil, because that doesn't allow you to now bring value to people. But the more money you have and you have a pure of heart ethically, you can help a lot more people. And that's what people don't understand. You could bring more value to others and help many others by having more money. So it is your ethical, like Grant says, ethically you should want to make more money so you can help more people. So what do you think? How you think? Do you really think that credit is essential in order to get to where they want to go financially?
I mean, it depends. I mean, that I should be asking you guys that one. Yeah.
What is your opinion? No, I'm biased to that. I'm going to tell you every single time, yes, 100% yes.
Don't get me started on personal credit. A little crazy.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on. I mean, if you're a high end, like if you're an investor and you're high end, people probably and you have a proven track record, people probably aren't going to look at your credit at all. You know, if you're looking to buy a house, you probably need pretty good credit.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are the masters at that. I would love to know your answer.
You know, and let me segue to that too, because how I started in credit was, I've been a real estate investor for more than 12 years now. I invested into a lot of residential wholesaling, doing flipping, getting credit here and there, using my personal credit. I got to the point that I was overutilizing my personal credit. So my credit score was down. I needed to fix it. And I didn't understand much about it. I knew how to use money, invest money. Even to this day, you see my debt to income ratio is astronomical. I own like a couple $1 million just in mortgages because I have residential real estate. But when a bank sees that and they see the debt to income ratio is astronomical, a credit score of 800, no increase, they don't know how to read that, because that's not the common. So learning about credit, and I believe is essential, because sometimes even when you invest, like honestly, like see, we got people coming to us that make 12 to 20 million dollars a year cash in business, but they have no business credit. They don't understand business. They know business. They know business, but they don't know credit. And that's something that is essential, because no matter what, every once in a while you're gonna hit a funnel in which you are gonna stop. You're not gonna be able to go anywhere else, because now you need debt. Like our mentors, Grant Cardone, Brandon Dawson, they don't get to where they wanted to go to become billionaires by just using cash. No one.
Right. Name one big company that doesn't have debt.
Even today, and again, we have a lot of groups, and we put a lot of value. And some of them say, but why is debt important? Well, why is Google acquiring $3 billion in debt when they have about $21 billion in cash sitting, and they could now leverage the debt to make more money and use their money to invest and make more cash? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
If the big players are doing it, what makes us different?
Right. I mean, like from my perspective, who studied the colleges that do this, I mean, Harvard and Yale, they do it better than anybody. They take all that endowment money and then they put it right back into other stuff.
That is true. Yeah. Life insurances, right?
Yeah, they're the biggest. Harvard is one of the biggest businesses on the planet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Man, you know what? It's been about an hour that we've been here. I appreciate that you actually came on. Definitely, I love to talk. I love to actually self development. This is something that we live and breathe, and we wanted to go and help many others. This is what we wanted you to be on. Now, if anyone in our community wants to get in touch with you, wants to go ahead and say, "Hey, Brandon, I want to make $21,000, but I want to make even more than that," how can they get in touch with you?
So Instagram is a great way. Brandon Gaydorus, BrandonGaydorus. You can direct message me. And then my cell phone number is 607-348-6136. You can call me, you can text me. I've got an open phone. And then my email is bgaydorus@gmail.com. And then you could also go to the Warm Heart Life website, and you can book a 15-minute phone call if you want to do that as well.
Love it,
You
man.
know what?
Love it.
Not,
Yeah.
very few people. I think this is the second person that I've ever seen that actually give the personal number to help you out. So don't waste it.
Yeah.
Use
It's
it.
funny. Yeah, it's funny because very, very few people actually. I saw a guy talk in front of about 200 people who gave out his number and his email and everything. And he said, yeah, I very rarely
Nobody's
do
gonna
I
go.
have anybody who calls me from putting my number up on stage.
Yeah.
So I always give it out. It's an open book, and you never know from this conversation, from putting it out right there, it could connect me to someone who actually gets to that 21K number.
That's
Right.
all.
$21,000 a month. You want to make it? Talk to my guy Brandon here. That's huge.
Hey guys, so no matter what, we're still gonna have all this information. We're gonna put it in the description so you guys can see it and use it for future references. If you're watching it live today, or if you are rewatching it to tomorrow, the day after, or even next week, still reach out to him. I believe he has a great message, great value to give out to the community, to people, and I know he's gonna make sure he help you to get to where you want to go. Brandon, thank you. Thank you for
Brandon, thanks,
everything.
man.
Thank you for being here today. Brock, thank you. I have fun, and salute to all of you. Okay. Have a good night.
Salud.
Cheers, guys.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night, guys.